and I was able to break free. However, many girls are still trapped in the anguish of fistula. It is time to put an end to the early child marriage and fistula cases.
Nearly 500,000 women and girls around the world are living with obstetric fistula, and every year, thousands more are newly affected. Every year, an estimated 50,000 to 100,000 women develop obstetric fistula while attempting to give life. It remains one of the most devastating consequences of childbirth complications, and Nigeria alone accounts for 40% of all cases globally. Midwives deliver most of the first-line maternity care and are central to preventing fistula and other childbirth injuries. In 2021, the world faced a shortfall of 900,000 midwives, half of whom are urgently needed across sub-Saharan Africa. For every woman who dies from childbirth, 20 to 30 others survive with injuries that deeply impact their health and quality of life. In 9% of obstetric fistula cases, the trauma is compounded by the outbreak of stillbirth. Ending fistula calls for intentional action, prioritizing prevention by addressing root causes like poverty, gender inequality, and early child marriage, while also strengthening emergency obstetric care and expanding access to modern contraception.
Yes, can we go ahead now?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
please.
Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone currently here and those who are still about to join us. We are here this evening, Nigerian time, 5:07, and everywhere you are joining us from around the world. We're glad to have you at today's seminar celebrating the International Day to End Obstetric Fistula. All right, we just saw a video around it, and we know that it still remains one of the most devastating childbirth injuries, affecting thousands of women and girls across Africa. The video even implied that about 40% of this ratio is from Nigeria. So we are here to talk about it, but not just talk about it, but be able to have one or two things as policy worthy ideas coming out of today's discussion. This is what I would ask of you, that since you are here right now, please can you just share this link with your network, those you influence, and on your social media page. Please, can we do that before I continue and hand over to the host? So I want you to go right now to if you are on the GRC group, makes it better. But if you are not, just help us share this. You can share the Zoom link. You can share the. Are we sharing to YouTube already, sir? I'm sure there will be the YouTube link also. So just bring in people, women, girls, boys. Let us come in together to learn from today's seminar. Has somebody done that? I'm doing that again on my own platform. Can you do that? If you've done it, you can just give me a thumbs up or something so that we'll know that we are together. Awareness leads to action. No, let's make this go around. Let's make it go around. Yeah, someone might see it on your status and be like, "Wow, I need to be in things like this." So it's it's great when we do that. Moving forward, moving forward, I would like to introduce our host for this evening, and allow me so that I would read our bio and would begin. She would introduce the panelists that are here with us today. All right, so Dr. Mrs. Anima Shaun Inyolua, Dr. Anima Shaun Inyoluwa is a dynamic and compassionate medical professional driven by a deep commitment to patient centered care and continuous personal and professional growth. A graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University OAU, Ileife, she brings a solid foundation in clinical medicine alongside a proactive approach to healthcare delivery. Before I continue, please let us understand that one of the reasons why we have these seminars is for networking purposes. So please listen in, look forward to networking with people. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat as well. Your organization, institution affiliation, academic affiliation too. Let me continue with a keen interest in preventive medicine, women's health, and holistic wellness. Dr. Inyoluwa integrates evidence based practices with a personalized touch. Please, can you still hear me? Okay, yes, you can still hear me. I think I confirmed. The personalized touch. Our communication skills, empathy, and attention to detail makes our particularly effective in building trust with patients and working collaboratively with multidisciplinary teams. Beyond our clinical duties, Dr. Inyoluwa is a passionate person about health, education, and community engagement, using digital platforms to promote wellness and healthy lifestyle habits, particularly among Nigerian women. Our entrepreneurial mindset has also led her to explore innovative health related ventures, merging medicine and medical expertise with business acumen. Known for her resilience, adaptability, and strong ethical grounding, Dr. Inyolua remains committed to lifelong learning and excellence in medical practice. She seeks to contribute meaningfully to public health and patient outcomes while expanding her impact through leadership, research, and advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, on the call this evening, WAT, please welcome with me Dr. Anima Shaun Inyolua. Thank you so much. I'll yield my mic to you now. You are host. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. John Daniel. Good evening from Nigeria. I'm greeting everyone. And thank you for
Good
coming to this
evening.
seminar. The topic is protecting rights to cultural diversity and expressions for sustainable development. Today, I I'll be introducing our speakers. The first speaker I'll be introducing this evening is Omotola Oyekunle. She's a highly regarded public health consultant and community engagement specialist with extensive experience across Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. She has led impactful projects addressing non-communicable diseases, maternal and child health, health system strengthening, WASH, and gender-based health disparities. As project coordinator for the Africa Rigorous Initiative for Stroke Epidemiological Surveillance, she managed a team of over 50 members conducting a population census of more than 150,000 individuals. Her consultancy worked with organizations like the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine and Afenet, has contributed to health facility assessments and data validation efforts. Passionate about sustainable developmental goals, 3, she champions improved maternal care through awareness campaigns, policy advocacy, and community dialogues. Omotolani is also committed to mentoring public health professionals and supporting nonprofits in developing sustainable programs. Her expertise, leadership, and grassroots approach makes her a strong advocate for health and well-being. Do we have Omotolani Oyekunle here? If we can say hi, give her a round of applause.
Hello. Mhm. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear
yes, we
me?
can hear you.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Happy to be here.
Miss Omotolani Oyekunle, good evening. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Your mic is muted.
Oh, not too bad though. Can you hear me?
Welcome.
We can actually
So I'll be
hear.
introducing the second speaker.
Can you hear now?
Yes, we can. Yes, I can hear. I can hear you now.
All right.
So our second speaker is Dr. Peter Sheyi Aremu. So I'll be introducing Dr. Peter Sheyi Aremu to us now. He's a Nigerian trained medical doctor with a keen interest in maternal and reproductive health, public health, and health equity. He currently serves as a medical officer in Ibadan, Oyo State, where he provides clinical care and advocates for improved maternal health services. Dr. Aremu has a strong passion for research, having participated in studies addressing risky sexual behaviors among young people and access to reproductive health care, amongst others. He has been actively involved in community health initiatives, including the Better Mama Pikin project by the Slum and Rural Health Initiative, where he championed public health campaigns on hygiene and maternal health. Is passionate about global health. Dr. Aremu aspires to advance his training in public health and reproductive medicine with a focus on undeserved populations. He brings to the panel a blend of clinical experience, community engagement, and research insights into the barriers women face in accessing safe gynecology care. Let's welcome Dr. Aremu Peter Sheyi. Good evening, you're welcome. How you doing?
good evening.
Hello, Dr. Peter. Are you here?
Dr. Animation, we can see and hear Dr. Peter. I don't know if you can hear him. Dr. Animation, can you hear Dr. Remo?
No, I can't hear Dr. Peter.
Dr. Remo, could you kindly increase your volume so that we can hear you? It's probably a network glitch. Let's go on. We'll
Yes.
work with backend. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening again, Mr. Lani. Welcome. So I'll be asking questions first. Thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the first question I'll be asking is, yeah, so based on your grassroots experience, what locally driven strategies have proven most effective in preventing prolonged obstructed labor, which is actually a leading cause of obstetric fistula?
Okay. So, thank you so much for this awesome privilege. And I thank the great job to be here. Thank you to the organizers. And to the to everyone here. So I would say strategies, driven, locally driven strategies that have proven effective. That's it. Can you hear me?
It's better now, yes. We couldn't hear you
Yes, I
initially.
can hear you.
Thank you.
Right. Is it okay now?
Yes, it is. It is. Please go on.
I can hear
Okay.
you.
So so I
To
would
repeat
I
the
would say that
question.
yes. Can you repeat the question?
All right. So I need, based on your grassroots experience, what what locally driven strategies have proven most effective in preventing prolonged obstructed labor, which we know that is a leading cause of obstetric fistula?
Okay. Um, locally driven strategies. So I will let me break it down into like family at the family level, at the community level, and then the nation, like as a nation as a whole. Then we'll just take it up from there. So at family level, um what locally driven strategy has been effective? I would say that it's going to be home-based education, training the mothers and the grandmothers on birth preparedness. So, what causes obstetric fistula majorly is just prolonged labor. Is majorly prolonged labor, like when the woman is in labor for a long time and does not have access to like medical care, and they are not doing anything. It's just there, and then there's so much pressure on the service and all of that. So when we train like mothers and grandmothers and let them know that okay, in preparing for uh, pregnancy journey, these are the things you need to know. These are the things you need to know and all of that. So these things they are active at antenatal. But how many people go for antenatal? How many people really digest what they are being taught at antenatal? So most people go there to just listen and just probably get their medicine and just show up. But some of them, what their mother and their grandmother tells them supersedes what they are being told at the antenatal. So there needs to be uh, awareness on carrying these persons along because they are key influencers to ensuring that you know, they help the mother in question take active decision, especially during emergency. And also, I would say that we should also encourage male participation. You know, at the family level, let's encourage the fathers. We go through the key stakeholders at the community level. Have your traditional rulers, the ballet, the pastors, the imams. You go through them and let them know that they need to encourage the men. I know that for a while now, it's getting better. Men are getting more involved compared to like 10 years ago. Men are now getting more involved with mental health. It's still low. The male participation ratio is still low, but there's improvement, which is good. Another thing that I would say that has been effective, locally driven strategy that has been effective will be promoting the girl child education. So majorly, this issue of the obsessive fistula is not so common. There's a region where it's really common. Sorry, sorry. So there's a region where it's quite common. I don't know. Can you still hear me?
Yes, it's
Yes, we can
better
hear you.
now.
Okay. There's a region where it's common, and we have to be able to
On
go and
your son
to how like
is trying to
sorry, is it disturbing? So
No,
sorry.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Let him have
Okay.
fun. He's learning to.
So I would say that let's get the men involved. Let's promote girl child education. There's been a lot of rave about this, and is yes, a lot of things are being done promoting girl child education. But maybe when we get to the national level, we map out areas where we have low rates of girl child education, and we push, because when you educate a child, you actually educating a nation, and a lot of things can get better that way. So still the level, things that we can do is to promote family planning. Like in all family planning, the whole family needs to prepare for pregnancy. We need to understand that it's not just the mother. Apart from creating awareness on involving the key stakeholders, the husband, the aunties, the neighbors, like there's a planning that needs to go ahead, for to come to life, for a child to come to life. So preparing that, like birth preparedness, what do they need to know, planning, because most of the time, some of them they're always at, and then there's prolonged labor, they don't have access to that emergency care, they don't have access to prompt care. By the time they get to the health center, those ones cannot even handle it again. And then they like, okay, they'll have to refer them. Some of them, they even give birth at home, and the local midwives will have to the community. The strategies that have been proven to be effective at community level. I know that in Lagos at some points, and I know that other states adopted it. They had to train traditional birth attendants, what these people that locally do just deliver, the local midwives, the traditional midwives, they had to train them. The government had to train them because they realized that a lot of people go there. So at the community level, we want to train the traditional birth attendants. Let them know when do you refer. They need to, and I know that this is really, really ongoing. They do this, all these traditional birth attendants, the government have actually absorbed them. They have like the association, and they have like a head. Even WHO is, I know that the World Health Organization is also involved at some points where they teach them. They have these mini trainings, and they give them certification. If you go into their centers, their health centers, or their health facility, their homes, these traditional birth attendants, some of them, you will see their certificates. They have been instructed to do this. They also teach them on when does it become an emergency, and when do you refer. So that has always been proven to be very, very effective. They teach them how to handle emergencies, transportation, mobilize funds. They also get some of the community members involved, like the ballets, like the youth leaders. When maybe if you really go grassroots, you understand that a lot of people are involved in this particular girl is pregnant, and then you see people just showing up, and then let's take her to the traditional birth attendant house, and then some people will give her transport and all that, because at the grassroots it's more like a community, it's more like a family, the way everybody knows each other. So this has been proven to be very, very effective. And at the national level, I know that there's been a lot of talk on strengthening primary health care. Some states are implementing it more than the other, but we can't overemphasize that we need to really, really strengthen our healthcare. We need to strengthen them. Recurrent trainings on emergency care, update trainings, and ensuring that these facilities are well equipped. Teaching them when to refer. It should not be based on their sentiments and emotions. It should just be at this point. We need to do something. And I know that some states also have insurance. It's free. Like I know Oyo State has OISHA. At the point of delivery, to the point where that child is born, it's free. It's free access to drugs, at least to a very large extent. So that's if you patronize the government hospitals, and which is which is something that is commendable at that level. So what I said, strengthening the healthcare system. Also, having forums at national level. There is an agency that is in charge of primary healthcare. It's called National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, and they're always trying to like push up messages. I know that they collaborate with influencers, actors, actresses, with the media, with the entertainment industry to come up with things, to further better and create more awareness. So I would also say that at national level, the strategy needs to be, there's a framework, obstetric fistula framework. It needs to be regularly looked at, updated. It needs to be updated. So for now, those are the strategies that I think have been effective at grassroots level, top to bottom. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, you gave I would say, perfect answer. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Omotola. You gave a very great answer, breaking it down into family level, community level, and even the whole national level as a whole. And we'll be going over to the next question. So I'll be asking Dr. Peter. Hey, Dr. Peter, are you here, please?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
All right.
Hello.
Okay. So given the gaps in maternal care, all right. Thank you. Welcome again. Given the gaps in maternal care, how can targeted investments in midwifery training and skilled birth attendants reduce fistula cases in marginalized communities?
Okay. Sorry, can you come again with the question one
Did you
more
get
time?
that, or would you like me to take it again? All right. Okay. So I said, given the gaps in maternal care, how
Okay.
can targeted investments in midwifery training and skilled birth attendants reduce fistula cases in marginalized communities?
Thank you very much
All right.
for the question. So when we talk about drugs in maternal care, from my own experience, one thing I have realized is that for people who are in cities, when you hear about maternal care, what you first imagine is probably you are in a city like Ibadan or Lagos, and they are talking about a pregnant woman going to it. It sounds so easy to you, right? It's like, okay, you can just walk into the hospital, see a doctor or a nurse, and you get attended to. But we need to know that there are people in rural environments and even some suburban environments where they don't have this easy access to maternal health care as much as it is necessary. So our targeted intervention should try to focus on these underserved communities, on these underserved environments. And from my own research about health disparities in Nigeria, especially when it comes to maternal health care, you will realize this is not, I'm sure we've all had this before, but this is me emphasizing it again that there is intra-regional disparities, quite all right. But when we talk about regional disparities, we realize that the northern regions are more at a disadvantage than the southern region and the eastern regions. So a lot of our targeted interventions need to focus on the northern regions of Nigeria. That is one. Because even if we look at the fistula cases from Nigeria, we realize that a lot of these cases actually come from the northern regions. So for us to be able to target our interventions into maternal health, quite all right. So we need to know where is the disparity coming from. So which market actually needs this the most? Which market needs these interventions the most? quite all right. Nigeria has about 40% of the worldwide burden of fistula care, but within Nigeria itself, are there places that need these interventions more? Within Africa, are there places where they need these interventions more than the other? So if we can define the population that is more in need, we can better target our interventions. And these interventions can come in form of technological, it can come in form of resources, it can come in form of health facilities. And it is getting to that stage when we also need to start investing in our human resources more, especially health human resources as a nation. So the northern Nigeria, if you look at an average fistula patient, just a typical fistula patient, when you hear their story, it is this girl or this woman that's pregnant. A lot of the times the pregnancy is unwanted because of high frequency of teenage pregnancies among patients, amongst obstetric fistula patients. So a lot of times the pregnancy is actually unwanted, the pregnancy has been prolonged in labor, and then by the time they are done, these people don't even have the social support necessary. They don't have the economical stance to be able to stand on their own. Many times, a lot of them are destitute. Yes, we have some other populations of women these days that have better support when it comes to social and economic, because not all cases of obstetric fistulas are actually due to prolonged labor. But more than 95% of obstetric fistula in Nigeria and Africa as a whole is actually as a result of prolonged obstructed labor. So if we can define who the average fistula patient is, we can define the population of people that actually need these interventions the most, and we can better define and design the interventions necessary for these people. So if we know that the average fistula patient is that kind of teenager with no social support, so it's probably uneducated or with very young, then our interventions has to be holistic. Okay, are we investing in health awareness and health education, or are we investing in maternal health care? Are we investing in antenatal care, or are we investing in obstetric emergency care? Because obstetric emergency care is one of the important necessities when it comes to obstetric fistula prevention and management. And when it comes to training birth attendants and midwives, well, might I add that when it comes to traditional birth attendants, I must say that in my own experience, one thing I have come to realize is that the term traditional birth attendant is, number one, it is abused, and then it is being exploited in many parts of Nigeria. Because you will see someone that call themselves traditional birth attendant, and you see the things they do, and trust me, you will be irritated. Like, do these people even have any form of training at all? So a lot of these traditional birth attendants, in a way, you query their training, because the importance, what we preach in antenatal care is what? Skilled birth attendant. Be it a traditional birth attendant, a midwife, a nurse, or a doctor, you have to be skilled. If you are a doctor and you are not skilled in labor and delivery, managing obstetric complications and recognizing them, you are not skilled. If you are a nurse or a midwife and you don't have these skills, you are just not skilled, no matter what the title is. So what I've realized is actually at the level of the traditional birth attendants, there's a lot happening. I feel like that scheme needs to be revisited. It needs to be revised. A lot of retraining and ongoing training needs to be done when it comes to traditional birth attendants. So, but how can we target our interventions in training traditional birth attendants and midwives when it comes to obstetric fistula prevention and management? I would say we have to define who our target population is. We have to know where the need is, which also makes research and innovation come in here. Without research, without data, we won't even know where the need is. How many people in Northern, how many cases of fistula we have in northern Nigeria in the past year. I'm sure if I go online, no matter where I search, I can't have that information. This is Nigeria. So we don't even know how much we need this thing. So research, data collection, and investment in data collection and research, defining our target population, and tailoring our investments into this targeted population, depending on what their needs is what will make us target our interventions as necessary as they need to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter, very insightful, for that insightful remark. Especially when you noted that, of course, most of them experiencing the um, most of the women are actually young women in rural areas, especially the northern region, that are actually victims of this obstetric fistula. And because of the old poverty region they are in, they only have access to traditional birth attendants. So the traditional birth attendants actually have to be skilled. Not even just traditional birth attendants, doctors, nurses, midwives, all have to be skilled when it comes to maternal care. So I want to ask you this question too: that how can culturally sensitive education and awareness campaigns reshape public perception of obstetric fistula, reducing stigma and also increasing access to care? Your mic is muted, Dr. Peter.
Okay. So please come again with the question.
Okay, so I was saying, I was asking how can culturally sensitive education and awareness campaigns reshape the public perceptions of obstetric fistula? I mean, that will have to also deal with reducing the stigma and also increasing access to care.
Okay. Thank you very much. Like Mrs. Omotola has said too, we can't jettison and we can't overemphasize the importance of awareness and education. But at the soul of our awareness and education is it properly targeted? Is it culturally sensitive and acceptable? So how we can target our awareness is basically by partnering with community engagement. Do we have a fistula community? If we have patients, we have patients who had these surgeries in the past. We had patients who had similar cases, and these patients are actually in the community. Can we have them act as volunteers? Can we hear from them? Like if they are going to pass a message out there to people who have these cases, what message do they want to get out there to have people with obstetric fistula to have them come out? How can the messages, how can they be properly targeted? What content would they like to appear and what channels would they like those messages to be gotten across to them? Would they like their religious leaders to talk more about obstetric fistulas? What we often have is religious leaders who are focused on the yes, the supernatural is quite all right, but we have religious leaders who downplay the importance of modern medicine and try to sell the supernatural to their patients. But if we have religious leaders and traditional leaders who can partner with the community, the government, and the non-governmental organizations to design targeted awareness campaigns to the general populace and even to people who are suffering from obstetric fistula themselves, I think our campaigns and awareness will be more culturally sensitive, because in that instance, people can design the awareness campaigns in their own local dialect or language. They can design what sensitive topics they want to have based on the age or people who are involved and the things they don't. There are some cultures or some ethnic that there are some words they don't want you to use depending on the age group affected. There are some sex education that you can't use every word that's on your mind as a professional to sell that particular. They feel like you are teaching their populace or you are teaching their people something that is bad. And also when it comes to religion, also there are some things you can't talk about when it comes to some religions. It seems like, oh, are you trying to change the order of the family? Are you, if you are telling a woman to do this, well, this woman is not the head of your, where we come from, the man is the head of the home. So you can't be telling the woman do this, do this. The woman has to be able to discuss with the wife. And also, we also have to carry our men along. That's a very important point that has been raised earlier. So we have to carry our men along in designing whatever interventions or awareness campaigns for obstetric fistula, because when men are better carried along, the whole family is empowered. Actually, because this is Nigeria, you can't take away the cultural background of people from their health. You can't take the traditional and religious background away from health. So we have to partner with the community, and the community involves the patients themselves, the people who are at risk, the general populace, and even the government and non-governmental organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Remo. That was really nice. I mean, you mentioned community engagement, bringing people that they can relate to, people that can actually speak their language, understand them. And that is even what will make them open up. And also involving men and, involving our religious leaders into this so that, I mean, it's something that everyone should actually be involved with because everyone has a woman, a girl child in their home. So everyone needs to know about it. Um, Mrs. Omotolani, I'd like to ask you, I mean, coming from a public health perspective, what policy measures can strengthen the socio-economic reintegration of fistula survivors, ensuring access to employment, healthcare, and community support? Just basically to reduce the stigma around fistula.
All right. Thank you so much. So I would say that what policy support can can you repeat the question again?
Yeah,
Please,
so
can
I
you?
said, what policy measures can strengthen? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
I All right. Okay. So I was asking that what policy measures can strengthen the socio-economic reintegration of fistula survivors, ensuring they also now have access to employment, they have access to healthcare, and they also have the community support. So this is going to reduce the stigmatization. So what policy measures can actually strengthen that?
Okay. Thank you. So, like Dr. Aremu said, we need to we need to understand um we need to map out where these survivors are from. Like it's funny that we have only, according to data available, says that there are only 12 dedicated centers that offer surgical. Sorry. There are only 12 dedicated centers that offers, like, if you need surgery on fistula, all that. And these 12 centers, how many people do they cater for? Sorry, ma. How many people could we cater for? How well? I don't really think there's any data that is available. Even when you check the NDHS, the National Demography Health Survey, that is very comprehensive. It just shows the region where you have a lot of birth, and it's not, and then some other factors that are related to maternal mortality. There's not that on obstetric fistula. So if we really say that it's a public health concern, if we really say that it's a public health concern, I feel like there should be more if there should be more data, there should be more access to data that can actually look into these things, because the reason why I'm focusing on this is because if we don't have relevant data, if we don't have things that can point us, we won't know how to integrate this into the system. And yes, the UN is really trying, the World Health Organization is really trying, but for how long do we want to rely on them? We have the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency that is supposedly supposed to look into all these things. So integrating them into the system is not even the issue, but do we really have the structure available? If we say that we want to do economic empowerment programs, believe me, I know a lot of us are. How many women economic empowerment programs have we seen? It's so, even in the so-called north, I know that there are a lot of programs that have been altered in the south, in the western part of Nigeria, just to divert funds to the northern Nigeria, and we still have alarming figures. So what really is there? A lot of economic, you see that doing this, so it goes integrating them into the system is more, it's something that there needs to be a research that needs to be done to really highlight where the problem is. So it's not about integrating it. There are a lot of things available for us already. Economic, because I can go ahead to say, oh, the women, let's empower them. Let's, teach them how to do this, how to do that. Do you know how many people are already living off aids, like aids from NGOs, aids from programs? They don't want to work. They know the money is there. They don't want to do anything. They just want to collect the money and then impregnate these men. They will just keep impregnating because the burden is more on the north. And we know that there is this disparity of education. So is it really about, I would just want us to discuss and be more real. Yes, I can come and say, oh, let's do this, let's do that. But we are not really addressing these issues. The policy, do you know how many frameworks we have on obstetric fistula? Do you know how many policy we have on maternal mortality? And the issue is not, we have all these things. So what now? Yeah, don't use this one, no, take this one. So at the end of the day, sorry. At the end of the day, we can say, oh, let's train them on mental health. You think they really want to listen? Sorry. Oh yeah, take. So the thing is we have a lot of, let's train them, let's empower them. Please give me some minutes, please.
While she's attending to our baby, I was wondering if we could proceed with the question for Dr. Aramo, then we'll get back to her. Is that okay?
Okay, so I'm going to ask. Okay, so I'm going to ask. We have one more question. Dr. Aremu, from a public health perspective and given your experience with large-scale health assessment, what innovations in data collection and evaluation systems can improve the tracking of the loans?
Can improve what? Hello.
I said what innovations in data collection? Yes, can you hear me? I said what innovations in data collections and evaluation system can improve the tracking of the long-term impact of fistula interventions.
Um, Thank you very much for the question. Like I said, we have a very big problem in this country. When people quote some figures in this country, in fact, many times I always feel like very, very, very roughly estimated figures, like because we don't know how big our true problem lies because we don't have data. We do not have database, right? So how can we innovate our data collection and evaluation? A lot of guidelines have been put in place. A lot of studies have been carried out with heterogeneous studies with different indicators for different aspects of this fistula care. But we cannot overemphasize the fact that there is a syndrome when it comes to the health system of this country. There's a syndrome. It's a problem because you literally cannot address one problem without needing to address another problem. So you are talking about the innovation in data collection and evaluation. Okay, who are the people who are even going to generate that data in the first place? Do we have the health practitioners who are ready to work, who are ready to champion these things? An average health practitioner in Nigeria today, yes, is looking for a way to escape. An average health practitioner is looking for a way to escape the confines of this country, to leave the country. So, number one, the manpower, we need to invest in manpower. And we need to reward manpower when it comes to health. Health human resources need to be empowered and they need okay, yes, I mean Japa. Someone said Japa. Yes, an average health professional in this country wants to Japa. So, number one, we need people who are ready to champion, who are ready to develop their skills and develop different aspects of fistula care from the from the awareness to case identification to the management and rehabilitation and reintegration and then to empowerment. So when it comes to the long-term outcome and long-term prognosis of obstetric fistula survivors, so we can, I would divide it into the medical, and I would divide it also into the psychosocial and economic aspects. So it depends on what indicators we want to look at. Are we looking at the medical aspect? Are we looking at the psychosocial and economic aspects? So the medical aspects, you have, number one, we need electronic medical records. Okay, Ms. Omotolani is back, but I think she will be able to speak once I finish answering this question. Welcome back. So we need electronic medical records because by the time I want data on 10,000 patients, I want to look at the health records of 10,000 patients and look at, okay, how many fistula patients about a year down the line, how many of them had a wound breakdown or how many of them had a recurrence, what was their continence like, were they able to hold their urine, were they able to control their feces 1 year, 2 years down the line or 5 years down the line, how many of them were able to resume gainful employment, how many of them were able to reintegrate back into their society, into family, how many of them were able to find themselves in a matrimonial home. So things like that, how many of them, what was their fertility profile like after the operation, after the care? So I need this data. Imagine you wanting to do this kind of study and every time you have a population, a study sample of like 6,000 patients, and the next thing you are looking for how to start getting case notes from records to start going through one by one. Number one, it is tiring. It's you need a lot of manpower for that. Then vis-a-vis, then it becomes very costly and very time consuming to do. So it's very discouraging for me to even venture into that kind of research and data collection to monitor the prognosis of these people in the long run. So we need to have a smart data collection method. And if we don't have a smart health records, we can't have a smart data collection method. Which is that this country needs to invest a lot in health records and health data collection. A country where we don't even know how many children are born in a state in a year. We don't know how many people have died in a state in a year. So now come to the nitty-gritties of some basic data collection, the very minute data collection of obstetric fistula. Like these things need people to champion them, but you can't isolate some of these data. It's not easy to isolate some of these data collection because, funny enough, I might just want to do a study on, okay, what is the renal function? What is the kidney function of post-obstetric fistula repair patients? What was their renal or kidney function like? So this patient would have seen them in the renal clinic, would have seen them in microbiology lab. See, fragmented data. We don't have a central data collection system where we can easily have access to data. So smart data collection and electronic medical records needs to be popularized, and it needs to be made widespread. Even in the most basic of our healthcare system, which is the primary healthcare systems. So for the primary healthcare centers, we can innovate and integrate electronic medical records into this system. If a primary healthcare center, just imagine a primary healthcare center having electronic medical records. So what now happens to the secondary and the tertiary centers? So and that way you can easily integrate data collection. You can easily integrate data collection. People can work on big data. They can look at the profile of these patients. They can apply different health informatics method, including machine learning, to assess what are the risks of some of these patients. What is the chance that, okay, this is a female of 22-year-old who is pregnant. What is her weight? What is her height? What is the chances that, what is the weight of the baby in her womb and all that? What's the biophysical profile? What's the chances that if she goes into labor, she will get obstructed? We can easily predict if a woman will even go into obstructed labor at all, or if the woman goes into the obstructed labor, and what's the chances of the person even coming down with a fistula in the long run. So if we can work on this data, if we can make our data smart, if we can go into public-private partnership and invest in data collection, also partner with NGOs for data collection on the economic outcome and the social outcome of these people, I think that is going to be the best way to go. We cannot overemphasize on smart data collection and smart we have people who are ready to analyze data, but if we don't even have the data there in the first place, I mean, there's nothing you want to evaluate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aremu. Going smart is actually a very, very solid way to go. Using electronic medical records to is actually also very important. So we'll be going on a short water break or bathroom break now, and we will reconvene in 15 minutes.
While we're on the break, we'd like to invite everyone to please fill in a short poll. It's an health check-in just to know how everyone is doing, and we'll share the general results. But please note that this is an anonymous call, so your data recorded. Thank you.
During childbirth. Whilst normal labour pushes the baby down through the birth canal, for approximately 1 in 250 babies or descends in an abnormal. Approximately 250 babies are born every minute. However, some women do not have access to high-quality medical care or resources. Extra time waiting for medical help can lead to prolonged labour and complications during childbirth. Whilst normal labour pushes the baby down through the birth canal, For approximately 1 in 20 women, the baby is too large or descends in an abnormal fashion. The bladder can get trapped between the baby's head and the mother's pubic bone, and prolonged pressure can reduce blood flow to the tissue. If the tissue dies, an obstetric fistula, a hole between the vagina and the bladder or the rectum, may form. More than 3/4 of women with obstetric fistula have endured labour that lasted 3 days or more. Obstetric fistula is repairable, but should only be done by an expert fistula surgeon. Fistulas may need a straightforward repair of the bladder, or more extensive surgery may be required. All cases of fistula are different, and one woman's experience can be very different from another's. Some women may still leak urine a bit even if the fistula has been successfully repaired, and some women may require additional surgery. Luckily, obstetric fistula has been eradicated in many countries around the world. This is due to availability of good medical care and emergency surgery facilities. However, in some countries, a high number of fistulas still occur, accompanied by feelings of rejection and isolation by the mother. Obstetric fistula can be prevented by a prompt diagnosis of obstructed labour and provision of a C-section, and by planning your pregnancy and delivery, including emergencies. For women who have had a fistula repaired in the past, it can be prevented by scheduling a C-section. Generating conversations about prevention will spare many women from suffering childbirth injuries and will ultimately improve quality of life for mothers and their babies. Approximately Approximately 250 babies are born every minute. However, some women do not have access to high-quality medical care or resources. Extra time waiting for medical help can lead to prolonged labour and complications during childbirth. Whilst normal labour pushes the baby down through the birth canal, for approximately 1 in 20 women, the baby is too large or descends in an abnormal fashion. The bladder can get trapped between the baby's head and the mother's pubic bone, and prolonged pressure can reduce blood flow to the tissue. If the tissue dies, an obstetric fistula, a hole between the vagina and the bladder or the rectum, may form. More than 3/4 of women with obstetric fistula have endured labour that lasted 3 days or more. Obstetric fistula is repairable, but should only be done by an expert fistula surgeon. Fistulas may need a straightforward repair of the bladder, or more extensive surgery may be required. All cases of fistula are different, and one woman's experience can be very different from another's. Some women may still leak urine a bit even if the fistula has been successfully repaired, and some women may require additional surgery. Luckily, obstetric fistula has been eradicated in many countries around the world. This is due to availability of good medical care and emergency surgery facilities. However, in some countries, a high number of fistulas still occur, accompanied by feelings of rejection and isolation by the mother. Obstetric fistula can be prevented by a prompt diagnosis of obstructed labour and provision of a C-section, and by planning your pregnancy and delivery, including emergencies. For women who have had a fistula repaired in the past, it can be prevented by scheduling a C-section. Generating conversations about prevention will spare many women from suffering childbirth injuries and will ultimately improve quality of life for mothers and their babies.
My name is Efua, a recovering fistula patient. It all started at a tender age of 14. I was giving away for marriage to my daddy's friend, whom I soon got pregnant for. We lived in a village far from town. My name is Afua, a recovering fistula patient. It all started at a tender age of 14. I was giving away for marriage to my daddy's friend, whom I soon got pregnant for. We lived in a village far from town. My village folk were very supportive and always there for me. At least, I thought so. It seemed like all was well until I went into labor. It was around 6 p.m. on a Sunday. My God, the pain! The people in the village insisted I give birth at home, and that those who deliver at the clinic or hospital are not woman enough. Wanting to be recognized as one, I bore the pain. After many hours of pain and agony, I still couldn't deliver. I was giving some herbs to hasten the process, and for many hours, our traditional birth attendants tried all she could, but to no avail. She suggested I must be made to confess. Probably, I have offended the spirits by being unfaithful to my husband. After many failed processes, the decision was finally made to get me to the medical center. By then, it was late in the night and I was very exhausted. So was my baby. And daylight took forever to appear. I was put on a bicycle in the morning to begin our 15-kilometer journey to the clinic. Some distance into our journey, we met a good Samaritan with a car who conveyed us to town. On arrival, I was taken in immediately. The midwife at post said my pelvis wasn't wide enough for the baby to come through and that I needed a cesarean section. I therefore got transferred to the district hospital. Unfortunately, I lost my baby. However, that wasn't the only issue. The doctor said I had developed what's called an obstetric fistula. This was the beginning of my misery. What is an obstetric fistula? I asked.
Obstetric fistula is a childbirth injury that leaves women unable to control urine and/or feces. When a pregnant woman has been in labor for a prolonged period, typically for more than 24 hours, the pressure of the baby's head on the tissue between it and the pelvic bone start to cause a reduction in blood flow to the underlying tissue. When this condition stays persistent for a period, the underlying tissue starts to die slowly. It goes through various stages till it finally dies, breaks apart and forms a hole in the area under pressure. This hole typically occurs between the vagina and the bladder and is known as vesicovaginal fistula (VVF), and/or develops between the vagina and the rectum, and that's known as rectovaginal fistula (RVF). Any woman who suffers from this injury after childbirth will not be able to control urine and/or feces from flowing through this hole, then through the vagina. The patient will leak urine and feces uncontrollably. Both VVF and RVF are results of obstructed labor due to the reason the pelvis being too small or narrow and the baby just simply can't pass through, or when a woman is unable to deliver her baby safely or cannot access a cesarean section.
A week after returning home from the hospital, my husband divorced me. He said a consultation with the spirits told him I was a cursed one. To make matters worse, nobody, including my own family, would take me in. The obstetric fistula left me leaking urine and feces uncontrollably onto myself, and due to that, I always stunk, no matter how often I washed. The bad treatments got worse as I was called names and branded a witch. I had no choice but to leave the village. I settled on the outskirts of the village where I grew some onions to make a living. But people stopped buying from me. They said I smell and that my produce is not wholesome and hygienic. I therefore had no income, so I had to start begging for alms and food. Being young, Some men wanted to court me, others wanting to take advantage of my situation, but they all quickly left. They found my condition repulsive, so I always lived alone. I had been with this obstetric fistula for over 4 years. My journey towards salvation began when on my begging rounds one day and heard on the radio from a car about this obstetric fistula. They described my condition as if they lived with me. I cried while listening, for only I knew what I had been going through. I visited the center the next day, reluctantly, for fear I might be asked to pay. But then, the news was good. I never knew this obstetric fistula could be fixed. Thanks to the obstetric fistula treatment program, I have undergone surgery and in the process of healing now. I paid nothing. In addition, I'm also receiving training in soap making so I can regain my dignity by making my own income. Efforts are currently underway to help heal the relationship between me and my family. Thanks to the same program.
Obstetric fistula is a medical condition. It's neither a curse nor a sign of infidelity. Let's stop the stigma against our women suffering from this injury. Let's put a stop to early, forced and childhood marriage. Remember, obstetric fistula is curable. Let's end obstetric fistula now.
Dr. Animashaw, if you're still there, you could kindly resume the session. Thank you. John, do we still have Dr. Animashaw on the call?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Okay, great. Right, sorry, I just wanted to be sure.
All right. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. So I have one more question, and shortly I'll just need short input from Mrs. Omotolani and also Dr. Peter. And the question is, how can evidence-based research and real-time health data drive more effective policy and funding decisions for maternal health programs? So would Mrs. Omotolani answer first?
Hi. So you're saying that how can data-driven drive health policy, right? Are you there? For emphasis, please.
Maybe it's a network. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you.
Dr. Animashaw, are you all clear now? She said, how can evidence-based research and real-time health data drive more effective policy and funding decisions for maternal health programs?
Okay. Okay. So thank you, everyone. It's good to be back. So I would say I'll use this particular project as a case study. And I want us to know that in this Nigeria, whatever the government wants it to get worked out, if they want solution to whatever, they always get it. Like Nigeria is that country where, yes, there might be a lot of anyhowness, but believe me, when the government wants to get things done, like when they really want to get things done, they'll get it. When they want policies to be implemented, they will get it done. And that's why sometimes this conversation can be very theoretical, and everybody will just, and then you go for conferences, it's always the same thing. So there's this project that was done in 2018. It was called NAIS, NAIIS. It was a National AIDS Indicator something something project. I'll try and look it up. So that project was done to actually reevaluate the burden of HIV and AIDS in, specifically AIDS in Nigeria. And it was so structured, and I'm going somewhere. It's just about using data driven to implement policy and everything. How did I get to know? Okay, a friend of mine was on this project as I think, a team lead or so. So it was a nationwide project that they actually worked in line with the what's the name of this ministry that is in charge of census? That ministry that is in charge of census, population. Do you get that ministry? So they collaborated with them. So what did they do? They systematically stratified the region, broke it down. How many human resource do we need to actually want to evaluate what's going on with AIDS? Where are we with AIDS? And to the normally it's national, then we have like the regions, the geopolitical zones, then we have the states, and then we have from states we have the local government. From the local government, then we have the ward. So they did it to the ward level, and they stratified it. They sampled everything, because that project was a multidisciplinary one. So people from the medical lab science, people from microbiology, people from monitoring and evaluation, public health, statistician, everybody was on that project. And they sampled it to the extent that even to the point of community mobilizers, like people that are not even like learned, they're not literate, they also sampled it. And what did they do? They notified them, okay, we are going to have this program at so time of the year, but we are recruiting, you also help us recruit people. So they were collecting blood samples. So they recruit a lot of, they had a systematic way that they were using to recruit people. And they did all that before data collection started. When data collection started, thank you, National Population Commission. When data collection started, they were provided, this project is heavy, and I'm going somewhere. So when the data collection started, they were going into the rural, the marginalized community, urban, they combed everywhere because of that already systematically, they were working with the best statistician. They systematically sampled the areas where they wanted to work. So they moved, if it was a particular, maybe village A is in the community A is in the village, like inside, they were provided with vehicles, with drivers. So imagine the number of people that was recruited for that project. Drivers, traditional leaders, everybody, all hands was on deck. They followed them there. They already informed the community, the local guide. The local guide called the people that are going to have their samples collected. They collected the samples, do this, do that, follow the normal ethical procedures and have that done, preserve the samples. And at the end of that study, a lot of projects in Southwest, in other parts of Nigeria, was called off, was shut down. And the data showed that there's heavy body AIDS in the south, in the east. So what did they do? They shut down almost all HIV and AIDS projects. Like, they left the ones that were primary, the ones that were very important, the ones that were still funding the medicines for the HIV and AIDS patients, following them up, ensuring that the one that was still sustaining the HIV and AIDS project. Those ones were the one they left. Every other thing, they shut them down and they moved all that resources to the east and they began to tackle it. And, you know, what that taught me is that, because my friend was one that was enlightening me, then I went ahead, it was online, NINAIIS study. You can read about it. You know, it was a national study, it was huge. And he told me, he said that that particular study too was also done in another African country. And he heard how much they paid the team lead in another African country. So let's say, for example, they were paid 10 naira in another country. By the time we got to Nigeria, they were paid 6 naira, 5 naira. So the issue that we have is bigger than just sitting and telling that, pulling out theories. I know that a lot of us that are here, we are researchers, we are community development people, we are international development, we work on projects and all that. And I'm going to say that wherever that we find ourselves, to ensure that we get data, let's do it accurately. Let's work towards ensuring that we get a very solid data, because a lot of things goes behind. And that data implemented in, they had to update the HIV and AIDS framework and strategic plan and all that because of that singular act. So if we are saying that for obstetric fistula, this same thing can just be copied if it's well mapped out. It can even this how will I put it? These variables can be integrated into the National Demographic Health Survey, the NDHS, the census. It can be incorporated into it. These variables, so that we will know what is really, really happening with this fistula. And in the northern part of Nigeria, there are a lot of agencies, there are a lot of NGOs. You can read it up, that are pumping money. Easy showing. So at the end of the day, I will say that, first of all, if we want to get to the root of fistula, to like the way we have combat HIV and AIDS to barest minimum, if we want to get to the root of fistula study, like the way we've done for, let's say, polio, immunization. Immunization is really, really like, so it's the same way. So that project taught me that to get to the root of all these things is money. See, you need a lot of manpower. And like Dr. Aremu said, that skilled people are the people that are needed to get this job. So it's not enough for us to come here today and have this talk to say, oh, International Day, we had this webinar and all that. But what are you going to take? Policy makers, you're writing, you're working on policy briefs and all of that. How are we going to make that change? Let me put it that way. How are we going to make that change? It's just to ensure that wherever that we find ourselves, yes, we might not be at that ministerial level yet, we might not be at that local government chairman level and all of that. But wherever that we find ourselves, let us not stop talking. Let us ensure that our voice is heard. Let us also build competence. Let us build capacity so that they can entrust us with funds, they can entrust us with things and say, okay, I commit this project into your hands. I commit this policy brief. What do you think? So it's moving from data to policy is ensuring that at every sector, we build that system, that structure. Like the National Population Commission. See, Nigeria is working. There's lots of things are working in this country, but there's no data available for it. So when they need money, sometimes manipulate data because it's not publicly, available. The data is not publicly available. So they can manipulate it. They can say that, oh, in the northern Nigeria, there are 700 million out of school children. Everybody will accept that. Nigeria is it really like that? Is it really like that? Because and then we eat it. We eat it. They cook it for us and we eat it. And then everybody begins to move with that. Oh, in the northern Nigeria, there's 700 million. and everybody begins to put their fund. Is the funding really sure? How do you evaluate all these things? So at every level, the National Population Commission is there. The National Orientation Agencies, what's their work? They majorly work on awareness as well, like awareness, like educational, behavioral changes, materials, and all those things, awareness. And they are at every state. So there are a lot of things that Nigeria has that the public does not even know they are used. I remember one day that I was going and I was passing through a place and we passed through Rotary. Rotary, if those of us that know Rotary, Rotary is an NGO that to support the government to do a lot of things, immunization, work, maternal mortality, and all that. And somebody said, "Ah, what do they even do here? It looks like a cult." I'm telling you, it looks like a cult. It looks like all this. And I was like, no, it's an NGO that they do a lot of things. Like, really? Do people even? I said, and it shows you that a lot of things are moving, a lot of things are working, but some of the people that are in charge, they're not skilled enough. So they can't present to us data. So it's just for us to evaluate at every level of care, at every level of policy, at every level of governance. Who are the people that we really need to ensure that we have this data available? Turning them, we need to get them skilled. Yes, we are working with there's this public-private partnership, but we need to collaborate more. It's not just the public-private. The health needs to collaborate with entertainment. They need to collaborate with this. We need to see ourselves as a team before it can really, really be effective. Do you get? And it can in turn become policy because there is policies working on this. There are big policies that have been put in place. Some of them have been not been implemented. So from data to policy, there's manpower that is needed. There's money that is needed. There's integrity, and there's the fact that we need people that are skilled people to really handle this job. That naive study was one of a kind, and up to date, they're still using 2018. They're still working those samples. I remember that time I went for a particular conference, and they were talking about the samples for that particular study that they could use it to do, like a genomics, genetic project. They could use as a genetic surveillance, study the genetic pattern of Africans. As long as they have that sample, everything is in Abuja or there's one lab. They have all those their labs stationed somewhere. So the first stage is from data to policies. How do we even collect this data? How do we highlight the levels of data? How do we ensure that we have skilled people that can do the job? A lot of us are not as skilled. And you just hear that the project was done. Was there an advert? Even if there was an advert, you will do interview and you not get. So there are a lot of things that goes behind it. So I'm just pushing it out towards that. Wherever that we find ourselves as researchers, please let's ensure that we give it our best. Let's not do a mediocre job. Let's ensure that if you're handling a policy brief, handling it well. If you're in a data collection process, put in your best. Let us be very, let us put in our best. We know that you also try so that fine. If you can apply for grants and get the funds and push it. Let's start. Apply for grants, your idea, form a team, and let's start gathering this data. Let's have it published online. So that the more these things are published online, if you go online, if you go online today, you see that the major information that you see, World Health Organization, United Nations, and all these other organizations, you will not really see the papers that have been done on obstetric fistula. They are not really much. So we are calling out ourselves to say, let's start the work. Let's apply for the grants, as they're still available. Let's collaborate, come together as a team and work. I pray God will help us all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Tolani. Thank you so much. Dr. Aremu, do you have anything to add to what Mrs. Tolani said?
Yeah, she has said most of the major points actually, and she has covered the ground in that aspect. And I don't think I have anything to add for now. but maybe later in the course of the discussion, I'll be able to chip in some things that come to mind. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. It's really been an insightful session. Now we'll be taking questions and answers. I think Mr. Toby
Yeah, the
will
questions are
post
there.
some
I'll just go
short
ahead.
questions on Zoom. Yes.
Okay, I'll read the questions. Good evening, everyone. I'm really learning a lot from the session tonight. So we have this question, universal, you can check the chat to see them. So universal health coverage, UHC, is often proposed as a criteria for fistula prevention. How can African countries prioritize UHC to address financial barriers, especially for rural women, while ensuring fistula repair is included in insurance schemes? That's the first question. And then for Dr. Aremu, given the shortage of skilled renal surgeons in Nigeria, how can task shifting, that is training mid-level healthcare workers, expand access to fistula repair in both urban and rural communities? There's one up there. How might involving, that is, how can involving male family members, I think we talked about men, but I think it was the panelist, Mrs. Omotolo, mentioned that how can involving male family members in fistula education programs shift community attitudes, given their role in healthcare decisions? These are the questions that we have from the audience.
Thank you very much. I think I would like to go on the question that talked about the universal health coverage first, about how African countries can prioritize universal health coverage to address financial barriers, especially for rural women, while ensuring fistula repair is included insurance schemes. So definitely, I appreciate the effort Mrs. Omotalani made. But when she was talking, one of the points that actually came to my mind is this issue of universal health coverage. And when we talk about the Nigeria health system, our primary health care, we have this health system where many of us are focused on secondary health care and tertiary health care as real health. Why health care actually starts from the primary health care level. But what happens when you look at this primary healthcare level is that you realize that they are least focused on, while they are really the strengths of any health system anywhere in the world. This primary healthcare is the strength of any healthcare system. So when we talk about from awareness to prevention to identification and good net or referral network, you can't jettison the important role of the primary healthcare system. So because when we talk about the eradicating polio program, the NIHE study you talked about, a lot of these programs are vertical programs. And what happens with vertical programs is that they are projects. They have a timeline, they have special resources allocated to them, they have special funds allocated to them. And so what happens a lot is, and this is Nigeria, like you talked about, it's easy to talk about the theories, but when it comes to the practice, we realize that a lot of other factors come into play. Who are those managing that particular project? Are they corrupt? Are they not siphoning the funds? Are the funds being used for what they are supposed to be used for? Where they are supposed to recruit 10 people, hope they are not recruiting 3 people and even paying them less than what they are supposed to pay them. So that's the thing with vertical programs. And the issue Nigeria as a country has with such programs is the issue of sustainability. Many times it is very difficult to sustain this kind of programs. So in my own opinion, I would rather prefer, yes, you might need some vertical programs to kickstart, to champion some of these health reforms in the first place, but we need to integrate them into our mainstream healthcare delivery system, which the basic, the foundation of it is the primary healthcare system. If at the primary healthcare system we have midwives, we have skilled vet attendants. Yes, some primary healthcare systems have they have nurses, they have doctors heading them. Yes, but it's at this level that people can be trained to create awareness in the community. They know that community better than any secondary health center or tertiary center we do. So it's at this level that they can better create the awareness. It's at this level that better collaboration for awareness and prevention can take place. And it's also at this level that, also with this level, a proper referral network needs to be made to either where people can get advanced obstetric care or advanced fistula repair necessary. So if we can form a good network between our primary healthcare centers, horizontal network and vertical networks among the different health systems, I think that is going to be the best way to go. And the health insurance also, we have a challenge with health insurance in this country. When it comes to health insurance, Oyo State health insurance was mentioned and national health insurance was mentioned. I know many hospitals in this kingdom that would rather reject Oyo State health insurance. Why? Because they feel like this insurance scheme does not pay them enough. In fact, one hospital told me that by the end of this month, about 50% of their patient comes from Oyo State health insurance scheme, but they are going to drop them. They won't receive patients from them anymore. Why? Because the remuneration is very poor. All right. So aside the poor uptake of health insurance scheme, our health insurance is not optimized to be able to serve the populace very well. Someone who is on health insurance and they can't even get basic, for you to get basic investigations done for them is an issue. So now you are now talking about obstetric fistula repair. That sounds like a big deal. And the government is actually trying in the regard of obstetric fistula repair. There have been fistula centers. There are outreaches that are done for people to have them freely. But the sustainability of these projects is the problem for me, is the challenge I have with them. If we can better integrate them, like you said, using the universal health coverage approach and bringing health insurance into play, it is going to better serve the populace that they address. But like I said, it is a syndrome. You can't address one problem without addressing the other, right? For us to bring universal health coverage to play, our health insurance scheme has to be strengthened. I don't know which other way to put it, because someone hears about fistula repair and they hear about the costs. Yeah, we all know how much it costs to have some surgeries done. You also have, if you are going to pay for fistula repair, this is not even Lagos. But that seems to be a cheap place where you can access healthcare in this country to an extent. You are going to spend more than ₦500,000. So, and we know the population of people who are affected by these fistula cases. Can they afford such? That's like a fortune to them. So, primary healthcare and universal healthcare coverage and health insurance, they are actually the way to go. A government that is ready, like it has been said, a government that is ready to do these things would actually do them if we have dedicated people who are ready to champion them. Our health insurance can be made better and it can be made strengthened. And it also speaks about us as a continent that we need to dedicate more resources to health. Quite all right. But like I said, it's a lot because you can't talk about health insurance without talking about how much are these people even making, how much are they going to be contributing to the health insurance, and how are we going to monitor and evaluate these health insurance schemes in the long run to make sure they are actually serving the purpose they are supposed to serve. And health insurance scheme that you have that patient can get basic tests done is not the one that is going to finance obstetric fistula repair for patients. Sorry to say. Thank you very much. I hope I have contributed put to that question. And for the specific question addressed to me about given the shortage of skilled renal surgeons in Nigeria, how can task shifting, training mid-level healthcare workers expand access to fistula repair in both urban and rural communities? I think I have mentioned a bit about this, that we need to create a network. If we are going to give maybe a fistula network now, where we have both vertical networks and we have horizontal networks for vertical and horizontal collaborations. So if at the primary healthcare level, where we have these mid-level healthcare workers and the basic healthcare workers, the midwives, the CHUs, the community health extension workers, or where we have them, if they can be trained to actually identify the danger signs of labor and delivery. What are the danger signs? What are the impending signs that labor might be obstructed? What are the signs that labor is getting prolonged? At what point do you need to make your decision to refer, to send the patient out? I've worked in hospitals where, in fact, once they bring any patient, like they just don't try to say, okay, yeah, you want that patient to deliver vaginally, just go for CS, because they would have kept that patient to the extent that it's already becoming life-threatening to either the mother or the baby. So it needn't get to that stage for you to make a decision to refer. So, and it's not just renal surgeons that actually do obstetric fistula repair. If you are a surgeon and you actually have inclination towards obstetric fistula repair, you can actually be trained in fistula repair. But considering the system involved, when we say obstetric fistula, we would imagine that it's probably someone who is an obstetrician and gynecologist that should be doing fistula repair. But there is a multidisciplinary care involving the fact that you have the genitourinary tract involved, the urinary tract, you involve the renal surgeons or urologists. Sometimes you have to, when you have a rectovaginal fistula, you have to involve the general surgeons because you are going to the rectum. Sometimes when you have a complex repair to do, you have to involve the plastic surgeons. So, but if as a surgeon, a general surgeon, or a urologist, I have interest in basic fistula repair, I can go and get my advanced training in fistula repair and I will be a fistula surgeon. But fistula surgery or fistula care is not limited to fistula repair. The care starts from the awareness, the prevention, and timely referral to prevent complications, or to make sure that even this fistula does not once. You can have a fistula that's easy repair of the bladder, you have sorted it out. But if the patient who has been obstructed, if the fistula is bad enough, it becomes complex. Some fistulas don't even get repaired in the first place. So if you can train people to identify what are the danger signs in labor and delivery, at what point do you make decisions, and what decisions do you make at that point? At what point does labor become prolonged or obstructed? And if you had a patient who had prolonged or obstructed labor, what are the measures you can take after delivery to ensure that they have good outcome? We talk about catheterization to make sure that they don't have breakdown of the ischemic area of the bladder or the vaginal wall, can catheterize them, and other care. How do you follow them up over time? So people can be trained about this, and I think the training should cut across all the health systems. Like I said, the primary health care is the strength of any health system, and we often ignore this aspect of our healthcare system, which is not paying off for us as a country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. That was solid. I listened in. I was just hooking and everything. Dr. Animashan, are you there? All right. Mrs. Omotolani, would you like to add anything to what he has said? Or thinking
No,
that
not at all. I think everything just balances, like
and
the
what about the
whole.
male family members' involvement?
Okay, so the male involvement is how does it in turn? Let me try and read the question.
Like, how
Uh,
might involving male family members in fistula education programs shift community attitudes, given their role in healthcare decisions? You talked a
okay,
little
so
about it earlier.
yes, so we need to understand that at the community is like uh, the family stems in from the community directly, and you see the interaction with families. So at the grassroots, like I mean grassroots, it's knitted. I'm not talking about estates, the way people, if you really go to the grassroots, like when politicians do their campaign, you know that those places they go and distribute money and distribute food. That's the grassroots that I'm talking about. And at that grassroots, it's knitted that like they know each other. So you have children trekking distance to school, and the culture wise. So and majority people in that category is not all of them that are on social media. So even if you say you are doing social media awareness, and you still have a lot of people who listen to the traditional radio and all that, you still have systems like the ballets. They have this final say. Do you get? They you have the respect for traditions. Nigeria is culturally sensitive. Like Nigeria as a whole is culturally sensitive. So culture and religion are those two things. And when you talk about culture, you're talking about the fact that Nigeria is a patriarchal country. Men are well respected. Men, what the decision from men brings like the finals. In some certain part of Nigeria, women are not even allowed to say anything. Is that, is still that, I can't say backward, but it is what it is. The culture still stands for them. So when you involve the, so the culture says, ah, the man is the head of the, do you get? And some people take it to the extreme that there's no, before you can even say that you want to collect immunization for your child, the husband has to approve. Before they do anything, the husband has to approve. And maybe things are not going well. They seek the ballet's input or the counselor's input and all the little things because of how the system is. It's patriarchal. Even if you are looking for accommodation, if you go with a man, the way they will respect you. Go alone as a woman and see the way they will rubbish, especially a woman that is working, you have money, you now go with a car. Some might not even give you that accommodation. They might not even list their house for you for rent. Is that bad? So because we have identified how there's the male dominance in the system, even at political level, we see it always on the news. You see how men, at the House of the Assembly, how sometimes they shun women up, situations, things that has to do with women, like this fistula, like female gender-based violence and all that that affects women. You see the way some of these men take it. So well, it's everything is showing us that men call the shots. So we are now looking at how do we bring these men? We have identified that these men are key influencers. They are decision makers to a very large extent. Before, a lot of the best projects, they were working blindly, not involving the men, and the men backed off. They didn't answer. But they would tell them, Shebi, they're telling you about family planning. Let me see you go to that clinic and do the family planning. And the projects will come, and they will spend money, they will give them food, they will train this staff, they will do everything. Oh yeah, come and do family planning. Nobody's showing up. So at the end of the day, because the men will tell you, let me see you. As long as you are still married to me, you cannot take that family planning, or else you don't have husband again. It's to that extent. Some of them are saying, I don't want to, this immunization thing, they say that it's blocking the brain of babies. If they take it, they'll become sluggish, they'll be having sickness. And they say, don't take it, don't give my child. There is that factor. There is that factor that the husband is the one that will even give them transport to go to the facility for care. And the husband says, as long as you're going to the hospital, I don't have any money. Do you understand how? So we've been able to identify that these men they are major role players. So we now mitigate that by calling them on board and appreciating them, letting them know, no, you have to massage their ego and let them know that you come from the perspective of, you're not coming that, if your wife, immunizes the child, they are stronger. And at the end of the day, some of these things, you are buying medicine, you are doing agbo all the time. When they take these vaccine shots, it will stop. Even if it will come, it will not be reoccurring like before. You educate them, you let them see the importance and how it will benefit them, how it will benefit their pocket as well. That is some of them. So in the health system, they've been doing projects, and they've been doing a lot of things. A lot of policies have been implemented, and they realized that there was no change. And they began to look at they began to have focus group discussions, discussions in the community, trying to understand what's causing it. And they realized that we left the men behind. So now, when we bring the men on board, from the family, where the decision, see, everything that we do starts from the family. If a man supports the wife and carries the wife to the hospital, even if the doctor is doing anything and the man stands up to the doctor, there's always a change. And when the woman is complaining, so men they are critical decision makers. So when we say that, we now begin to educate and sensitize these men that we know you are important. This is why you are important in the scale of preference. Please assist us. Don't let our women be dying anyhow. And they begin to stand up. They begin to educate them. They have meetings upon meetings. And they are seeing that when they step in, there's changes. The way the women have been dying. When the ballet stands up and calls Baba Lagbaja, please use your car or use your Okada to take this person to the hospital. They say, yes, sir. Because it's culture. We respect elders. So we began to infiltrate, and then we try to talk to the pastors. Let us, before you get married, do tests. Let them do blood tests. Let them do this so that they won't have sickle cell children. And they are doing it. And these people are standing their ground and saying that, yes, it can be better. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. So at that family level, at that grassroots, it begins to change, one person at a time. And before you know it, and this person is doing it, seeing results. It's true. When my wife was on family planning, I was able to plan my money better. She's even looking finer. I can do this. Instead of giving birth to 5 children, they have 2, and their mind is at rest. They can focus on their business. They are seeing the improvements. He can also tell his fellow men, this thing is good, though. So that is how, let me just say that that's the process of involving men, and how it translates to, having better outcomes in our healthcare system, because we are culturally sensitive and we are religious centered. So we are leveraging on the fact that we are patriarchal in nature. There's highly positioned stance for respect for men. Men have the final say. Why don't we bring them on board? And in turn, we begin to, and it's already working. Things are changing gradually. Yes, we are not there yet, but we are not where we used to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Nimasha, are you there? Okay. Mrs. Omotalan, just one more and we'll be done. Please, as you hinted earlier, the question is in the chat. Research and healthcare access for addressing fistula requires collaboration beyond medicine. What specific roles do you imagine other experts like economists, gender equality scholars, media professionals, or educators playing in designing interventions that address root causes of fistula, especially in rural communities?
Okay, so I would say that collaboration beyond medicine is sustainability. When you collaborate outside of medicine, because Dr. Aremu said something about the fact that vertical programs are not sustainable and all that. And I just want to say that and it's already in place, people have started working with, we have finance, we are working with agri, they're working with this and that, is for sustainability. For example, fistula as a whole, one of the major causes that why it's like that is poverty, harmful traditional practices. So it will say that let's empower the women, and then we bring our economics people on board. They design businesses. They help us with, they begin to teach women how to earn money. Do you get how to save? They bring the finance, and then agric is the ones that are farmers. Do you get? They can eat well. They're telling them that, oh, can eat, if you grow your own chicken, the chicken will produce egg. You'll be eating that egg. You can also eat your chicken, which is good. There's no chemical and all that. So we when we bring on board other experts, it is for sustainability. When we design programs that bring in other experts, imagine now you bring somebody that a GIS expert, and we mapped out all the communities, that they have prevalent and high burden of obstetric fistula. What that would do is, you can see it's well mapped out. Interventions can be tailored to those communities, and resources can, instead of just putting money and they're not seeing changes, resources can be better utilized and can be better tracked. And, it can monitoring and evaluation is very critical. And it will be easy for us to monitor because everything has been mapped out. Imagine in a situation where, we are working with tech people and they are teaching the female women on how to use USSD. They can't, some of them, they can't afford an Android phone, but the touchlight phone, those small phones, they teach them how to open a bank account using the USSD. When we work with the tech, and they help us devise the means of, getting that USSD code. This is how you can transfer your money. Look at this Sun King people that sell solar panels. Look at the way they've been able to infiltrate. Those people are not targeting the urban centers. Go to the villages, go to those peri-urban communities. You see everybody with their products. In fact, there's no home that does not have Sun King. So when you bring those kind of people on board, you give them, if you'll be paying, and some of them, they have money, is not the problem. It's just the mindset shift. I tell them, you'll be paying it small. You do like this, you teach them, with their small phone, and then gradually, there's sustainability. So now there's what is called, there's non-for-profit where the NGO comes in. Now there's the shift. That's why there's sustainable development goals. Everybody's looking at sustainability now. How can we sustain this? So now there's sustainability. It's no longer free. Before, everybody is doing free because it's not sustainable now. It's now sustainability. Oh, yes. Okay, we will teach you. You will be paying 100 naira. You pay 50 naira. It's subsidized, but they are still paying something. So when it's subsidized, it's the longevity of such programs or such innovations it lasts longer because there's a commitment from both parties. So I would say that the roles of other experts, in designing intervention is for sustainability. And I believe I've been able to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me just ask for the last time. Dr. Animashaun, are you still here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, I couldn't hear you for a long time. Didn't know why.
Sorry, I think it's the network.
All
So
right,
sorry
no
about
problem.
that.
All right, we'll just go ahead with the vote of thanks now. Let me start by thanking you then. Thank you so much for hosting this with us. I want to specifically appreciate everyone who joined us today. We started out and shifted gear as we went on until we started touching on very, very strong things, very policy relevant. We appreciate your contribution towards this. Dr. Anima Shaun, thank you so much for being our host. Dr. Aremu,
Thank you.
Peter, Shei, thank you so much, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule and sharing out of your wealth of experience and concern. It takes a heart of interest and ownership to still contribute to things like this and believing that this would make a difference. Mrs. Omotolani, thank you for honoring our invitation. Thank you. Help us thank your boy too. He contributed his own quota to ensuring our meeting today was definitely intergenerational. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution. And I would like you to use this opportunity. You can check the chat box. Yeah, you can check the chat box. We would like to invite you to join the GRC. It's an interdisciplinary, intergenerational platform. We have scholars from different um, disciplines and departments and institutions. For those who are not already part of it, please, the panelists, the host, the participants, tonight we're inviting you. What we do is important, and it is that we lend our voice, not just to our own personal problems and grievances, but uh, uh, to intergenerational and very cogent issues such as this. I would also like to use the opportunity to invite everyone on this call for our discourse. June 5th, World Environmental Day. We'll be looking at a lot of things, and I would appreciate you turning up, inviting members, sharing our flyers, inviting people. Thank you so much, so much. All right. I don't know if Dr. Oluwatobi would like to add anything before we close out for tonight.
Not quite. Thank you to you, John, for your kind and interesting perspectives in sharing this documentary. I think you should share the link to it on the chat so people can also watch it. I learned a couple of things. And once again, invite everyone to our subsequent engagements. Thank you.
Okay, so the meeting will still be open for about 5 minutes or so for networking. In case you want to network with persons on this call, feel free to do so. I will share the link to the GRC now, so that in case you want to join, we would like to have you. You'll be able to. Here is the link. Thank you so much and good night from this end.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Doctor. Glory, you are welcome. I think we have a new person. Glory, you are welcome. Hello, Glory. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. You're welcome. We just finished the main session. We just finished the session. Are you a member of the GRC?
No, sir, not at all. I just
Okay,
saw
can I
it
get
on
your
a phone.
Okay, can I get your contact so that I'll be able to share the recording with you while we are done, but we just finished. but we are just waiting. The
Oh,
waiting room just yeah. Um, can you message me directly? I will message you directly now.
okay, sir.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
sir.
Bye everyone. Bye. 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 Bye.